Are you looking for inspiration, peace, and a deeper connection with your soul? If you're ready to investigate your higher truth, take a deeper look inside, and discover a better way to live, stay tuned for Higher Soul Living, where we ignite your divine intelligence for life. With me, Rev Christine Savage. I experienced a profound spiritual awakening that was so life-changing. It took me into a 30-year career as a metaphysical life coach and breathwork expert. I've mentored thousands of people through their personal challenges, anxiety, self-doubt, and search for meaning. Higher Soul Living is about choosing to live the higher way. It's about taking conscious ownership and drawing spiritual intelligence into your everyday life. Join me on a search for higher truth to find hope, connection, and happiness. The Higher Soul Living Show starts now. Hello everyone, this is Rev Christine. And I've got to say, before we get into the nuts and bolts of the program, I was looking out of my window this morning and this beautiful sort of sunrise coming up, and there were these gorgeous hot air balloons all just floating through the air. And it was quite divine, gorgeous experience, really lovely. I've only ever been on one once when I was traveling in France, and it was amazing, absolutely amazing. So if you've never done it, have a go. It's fantastic. Today's episode is on a really simple spiritual law. And we're going to look at, are you following this law? Because it's a really simple, practical law, but so many of us are not actually following it. And it's a simple thing to do for your life to make it easier. And we all like to have some ease with our lives. The life is quite often simple when we look at it clearly. It really is simple, but we humans often make simple things very complicated, as we know. So in this episode, we're going to look at this spiritual law. Do we ignore it? Do we do it? And yet, if we actually follow this simple law, we'll be so much clearer. We'll be happier in our lives. We'll be more aligned and more on purpose with our lives. And it really is simple. So before we get into the actual simple spiritual law part itself, I'd like to set a scene for you and let you know why I've decided to talk about this today. And when we get to a particular part of the story that I'm going to share with you, you'll understand why I'm sharing it. So this is a true story about a client of mine, but it relates to absolutely everybody, all of us. Even when we know about this spiritual law, we don't always practice it. We're all guilty of that, me too. And yet, as it really is a common sense practice, really, really common sense. The law, it's like a law of life, in fact. So I'll get into the story of this. So Evan, a little bit on his background. So he's a client that I've had for approximately 15 years. And he's a long-term meditator now, and really a terrific guy. He's interested in spirituality. He's interested in his meditation, which he has been very diligent with until recently. And he's also done a lot of my metaphysical groups. He's a student of mine, a student of life and metaphysics, as we all are, including me. So he's done a lot of my spiritual and metaphysical courses and programs over the years. And as I said, he's been a really committed meditator and breather. So I started working with him, about 15 years ago, as I mentioned. And since then, he's married and had two children, two young, gorgeous daughters, and he's been very busy with his life. So he books in for a VIP one-to-one online coaching and breathwork session regularly. And again, I have to say, this week, I still have that funny voice and that cough lingering from the flu. So please just excuse my cracking voice when it happens. So this is a little bit of his backstory, Evan's backstory, which takes us to his actual inquiry this time when he actually booked in. So Evan has decided that he's looking for this new purpose. He's actually had quite a strong purpose in his life. And he feels like that's done. And now he's looking for his new purpose, something that he's really passionate about. He's looking for a new focus, and he has actually exceptional skills in his field of work. He's a doctor in his field. He's produced some amazing work over his working lifetime. He has particular things that he loves to study, because I always ask my clients, what is it that draws you? So even if you've got a leisure day, what is it that draws you, that you see something or you're looking for something to read or listen to? What is that thing? So that's usually where our passion sits. So he loves to study and read about things to do with AI, things to do with computers, because that's where his expertise is. So that type of drawing that we have to a certain topic or field or subject is a key player in finding our way through the maze of purpose, because everyone wants to know, what's my purpose? So if something is pulling you towards a particular area, it's definitely part of your soul's journey. So I'm going to say that again. If something is pulling you towards it and you just can't get enough of it, you're really interested in it, then that's definitely part of your soul's journey. So purpose is always something that you like, something of interest to you. It's always a love. It keeps attracting you like a lover. It keeps attracting you back, back, back. So his interests are in technology and AI, artificial intelligence, as I mentioned, and he is a doctor in this field. But he's still at a loss to as far as exactly what area within this area that will bring him the creativity, the joy, and the passion that his soul's looking for. He said he listens to his wife speaking about her work with such passion. And he said he wants to find that and he hasn't got it. And I understand what he means, because ever since I can remember, I have had this incredible passion for metaphysics and spirituality and how it fits into our lives, who we are in this dimension of life and beyond. So I've always had that passion, even though I didn't have the words when I was younger. I didn't know it was metaphysical, spiritual, all of that stuff. Just had this yearning and this pull towards it. So I'm sure you have a pull towards something in your life, and you really should sit down and look at that. What is it that pulls you? What draws you to it? Because that will have something to do with your life path. Even if you think you can't do that thing, if you're being drawn to it, there will be a way you can do it. And back to Evan. So he's in the midst of change. So we looked at his life and where he's at right now, where he sits at this moment in his life. And it was obvious to me that life has actually prepared the perfect circumstances for him at this stage of life. And I'll sort of expand on that a bit. Life has set the platform for him beautifully. He has his family, he has his children, and now they're both at school, everything's settled. He has the space, he has lots of space and flexibility in his life. He has time, plenty of time. He has financial security. He doesn't have to worry about money anymore. So he has this space and time set for him. So now he's looking for his new focus, his passion, his purpose. He'd like to develop something to help people or the world on a larger scale in some way. So everything is set for him. All he has to do is really tune in and find out what that passion is, what that next step in his purpose is. Sounds easy, doesn't it? But it really has been set up. I can see how life sets things up for us. It prepares us. It opens up the space for us to step into what our life purpose is. It gives us opportunity. So now we've set the scene. This is where the simple spiritual law comes in. So I asked Evan about his daily practices, and he told me he was exercising like physically every day, But he also said that he'd let his meditation practice go quite a lot. And he had some questions around his meditation, which we discussed, and we made a few alterations to the type of meditation he was practicing in his program. So these changes that we made will really work for him and where he's at right now in his life. So I had some questions for Evan, and he's clearly looking for answers and direction. So I asked him these questions. Where do we as people get answers from? Where do we get our direction from? I also asked him, who knows us better than anybody? Like, who knows you better than anybody? Anything. And who knows your life purpose and what you need to learn in this life? Who knows where you've come from and where you're going? So I knew, and I knew that Evan knew the answers to these questions because I've worked with him for years. So he answered these questions really easily, as I knew he would. I asked him, how does this deeper part of us communicate with us? Because that's where all of these answers come from, that deeper part of us. So how does this deeper part of us communicate with us? What do the conditions need to be like to receive the communication? So we discussed all of this relating to this new pathway that he was looking for. And here are some of the points that we went through. So I hope this helps you in your life. Number one, we need to be in stillness. We need to be in peace and silence to receive communication from whatever you call that. You know, it's a label, but it's the source, the higher self, the soul. You know, it doesn't really matter what you call it, but we need to be in some sort of communication or stillness with that deeper or higher part of ourselves. If we're racing around busily all the time, and we live busy lives, we have to really structure this in. So if we're running around really busy all the time, our higher self is up there knocking on our door, trying to send communication through, but we don't receive it because we're not listening. So it just waits in silence for us to give it our attention. Point two, I think this is the most important point. This is the simple spiritual law that I'm bringing forward here. It just makes sense. If you want to receive direct communication with your higher power, then you have to give it your attention. You have to carve out or set a period of time in your life for it. You have to give it some energy. In fact, it's really that you give it some of your life. When we put attention on anything, we're giving that thing some of our life. We think that, oh, yep, give it some energy. Well, energy is our life. If we don't have that, we don't have life. We have to give our higher power, our higher self, whatever you want to call that, we have to give it some of our own life. That is the only way this works. You're asking it to give you energy and direction. What's my purpose? Where am I going? I'm looking for my purpose. So you are asking it or something to give you that direction. But there must always, always be an exchange. Always. So when you give that higher power, that source, your attention, guess what? It gives you its attention. It feeds energy back into you. Now, this part is vitally important. How it works is you give your attention, your energy to that higher power, that God self, whatever it is that you believe in. You give it that attention. It, by cosmic law, must give you energy back. Every time you give it attention, it gives you energy back. Then you're filled with more energy, more power. Then when you put your attention back up to your higher self again, you're actually giving more of you, more light, more energy to it. So again, it lets its energy flow into you even more powerfully. So it's like an upgrade every time. It's a backwards and forwards type of energy flow. You give to it, it gives to you. And when we're sitting in that silence, there is change happening at that deep cellular level. So you have to give your attention to your higher power first. Now, in that, there's information and light in energy. There is literally information in energy. It's a frequency. Everything in life is vibrating at a certain frequency. It's holding information. So the more you sit every day, and you don't have to sit for a long time, but at least 15 minutes. And if you did that every single day, and you are really building up a momentum in your energy, there is information in there. Your life path and your next steps are sitting in there because your higher self, your higher power knows exactly who you are and why you're here, what your agreements are. You have to focus, give your attention up to that part of you that is more. It's more than you, it's the greater. So when we give our attention to the greater, then it gives more attention back to us. So it's greater than our human self, let's put it that way. So information sits on different frequency bands, as I like to call them. So when you give your higher self your attention, it releases energy, and this energy flows directly back into your being, even if you're not aware of it. This is important information. In the energy that flows back into you is where the answers are. This energy literally sits on a frequency band, a frequency broadcast. It works a bit like a radio station. So we're tuning in to that frequency. If you want to listen to a broadcast, then you have to tune in to that frequency to get that broadcast. And it's exactly the same with the way that we work as human beings. And when you're still enough and you have your attention on your higher power, it releases its higher information for you. So when you're doing daily metaphysical work, like a program, spiritual work, you build up a momentum of light or of energy into your physical body. And nothing's separate. So, we've got the spiritual, the mental, the emotional, the physical part of us that is being aligned, upgraded. And when there is enough energy built up through your daily dedication and practice, the balance tips and it starts to work for you. You start to attract in, if I'm sure you've heard of the law of attraction, this is how it works. You start to attract into your life the right people, the right situations, events, and it starts to support your purpose or your next steps in life. So when you ask your higher power to help, it does. It's a spiritual law. It literally is a spiritual law that when you give that part of you your attention, its attention must return to you. It must give you its attention in return for your attention. So I'll explain this a bit more. It's a spiritual law. You have to give your attention to your higher power first. And on a daily basis, to build this stronger connection, to build a momentum in your energy supply, you must sit in silence. You must sit quietly. When you give your higher power attention, it will give its attention back to you. It's such a simple spiritual law, but it's one that we often either don't understand or we forget to do it. If you were thinking, if you were thinking of baking a cake, You couldn't just say, okay, I want a cake. I want an apple crumble cake. And can you show me, please give me the cake. You wouldn't do that. You would go and you would buy all of the ingredients for the cake. You would mix it up. You would put that into action and then you'd bake it in the oven. So you would give it some of your life. You would do the action that's required to get the result of having this beautiful cake. Not that I'm a baker, that's for sure. I am not. I'm a terrible cook. If you ask for questions and guidance, but you're not supporting this process, if you're not stopping to listen, not giving your higher self any attention, how on earth do you expect to get answers? It just doesn't make sense. But we're all guilty of it because we don't understand how life works. And it can be so simple. It's so obvious when you know. It has to be an exchange. So getting back to Evan, he was desperately looking for answers, but he wasn't giving his attention to the one source that can help him find his way on his next steps. And even though he's a long-term meditator, he's very metaphysical, he's so good at his work and everything, he'd forgotten that very simple spiritual law. So one of the things that we did change in Evan's session was the type of daily practice that he'd been doing. We changed that, we tweaked it a bit. So his meditation was mentally active. You know, he's doing a process that I taught him years ago, metaphysically, about drawing in this higher power into his body. So it's mentally active, which is great. But I wanted to change the end of his meditation for the specific purpose of receiving that higher communication, his life direction. So we actually set the first part of his meditation to be mentally active and intentional. And then we changed the second part of his meditation to be mentally inactive, just a state of witnessing and stillness, but still really focused, but sinking into that witnessing and that stillness. And if he can manage that, which I know he can, this will help him to receive the higher communication from his soul or from his higher self. Even if he does it for a short time, because he's a practiced meditator, he should get it pretty quickly. So firstly, he'll draw on this higher vibrational energy in his meditation. This energy is filled with information, even if he's not conscious of it. When he builds enough momentum through his daily meditations, then he'll sit in focused silence. And I'll just repeat that because I didn't say that well. So at first he's going to bring in this higher vibrational energy, like fill himself with light, basically is what he's doing. And this light and this energy is filled with the information that he will require to actually show him. He'll get hunches, he might see it, he might feel it, but he will get inspiration coming through these daily meditations. The second part, he sits still and focused in silence. So that's his purpose. There's no free lunch here. There's no free lunch. We can't just say, I want this, show me, without putting in. But it doesn't have to be tiring or strenuous. It just needs to be daily. Even if you set the 15 minutes, I think 20 would be better every day, but you need to be dedicated with this. You can't do it for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then say, oh, it's not working, and then give up. You can't do that. You need to actually just continue and trust at that deeper level that things are changing. Without being focused and active in your attention to your higher power, it will take forever to get any answers or life direction. You'll just go around in circles because we're not putting in if we do that. So if you take, or if my client, Evan, takes 20 to 30 minutes to sit in his practice each day, he will move forward and his next steps in his life purpose will show themselves. And often things come out of left field when you least expect them. But this is such a simple spiritual law. It's an agreement that you have with the divine, with your higher self, with your soul. It's an agreement. You give it energy, it gives you energy. So if you want answers from that higher part of you to really ground in your life, your daily life, you must give it your focus and attention. You must give it your energy. Then it can work with you, with your energy, and give back to you even more energy. It's this flow. You feed it and it feeds you. It's actually a simple process. You just try it out. You'll start to understand it. If you want something from it, you have to pour something of yourself, your life force, into it first and build a momentum over time. And believe me, that momentum really does build, and quite amazing things can happen. So I think I've said that quite a lot. I'm going to say it one more time. You have to give your attention and energy to your higher self and then accept and draw on the energy it offers you in return. You literally have to accept it and draw it into you. You have to draw it into you. Now, my client, Evan, had stopped doing his practice due to life being really busy, and this happens, with our families, and life just draws us out. But we need to keep committed. So he recommitted himself to his daily practice. And you can't expect to receive answers from life if you're not giving life your attention. That's what the whole message is here. It really is a very simple law. To receive, you must first give. So since Evan's session, he sent me 2 texts. So the first one, and I've taken the personal stuff out of these texts and sort of just given you the outline. Hi, Christine. Thanks a lot for the session yesterday. I got lots of good downloads yesterday after I was laying down after my session, like I get them to integrate. He said, I've been really inspired since then about my work and feeling great. I'm still integrating from the session. I did about 15 minutes of meditation this morning and it felt great. And I also recognize in a new way the importance of drawing in, the importance of my meditation. So I'll do another 15 minutes now. Thanks again. And then a few days later, I got another text from him. Hi, Christine. Thanks again for the session on Tuesday. I've been buzzing and receiving an open flow of downloads since then with lots of new ideas and a few key insights. I've been working a lot since then, implementing a product for a new business. I have a lot of new inspiration. This has been one of the best weeks I've had after a breathwork session with you and a counseling session, really. And a breathwork session with you. And I know there have been many other wonderful sessions and shifts too in the past. So thank you again. So he's on track again. He's absolutely on track again. And it didn't take long, only a few days for him to really start getting those insights and these new ideas coming through him. So that's my message today. It's such a simple spiritual law. Give first, receive second. Now, if you're interested in learning more about life and how it works with your own energy, you can go to my website, soulifeconnection.com, SOULLIFE connection.com. And actually, I have got all of my courses on a great sale, crazy sale prices at the moment. So have a look on there and really get stuck into it. It's worth it. So my closing message. Take some time out of your day to sit in silence and stillness, even if it's 10 to 15 minutes, that will do to get going. And set a strong intention to connect to your higher power. Give it your attention. Give it some of your life energy. It's waiting for you to acknowledge it. And when you do this, your higher self will start giving back to you. So try it out, but don't just do it once or twice. Make it a daily practice to build momentum and see what happens. It will amaze you, I promise you. If you continue with this, it will amaze you. I wish you many blessings and I look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you for tuning in to Higher Soul Living, where you'll ignite your divine intelligence for life. with me, Rev Christine Hart-Savage. Join me every second and fourth Thursday at 3 p.m. Pacific on Transformation Talk Radio for more information and stories that inspire hope, possibilities, and a greater understanding of who you are at a higher soul level. Together we deepen the connection between the spiritual and the physical aspects of your being and align to your soul's innate intelligence. Metaphysics and the higher soul's journey are my greatest joy. I invite you to join our Facebook community, Soul Life Connection Group, and to visit my website, soullifeconnection.com, for more information about me, my programs, my coaching, and to tap into your higher soul's intelligence. I hope to see you next time.